Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Three Swords Productions. Today we got a fun one, some set 3 action, some Arlong versus some Lucci. If you're new here, I'm Nathan. This is Alex.
Hello, hello.
You ready to go for it?
I'm ready.
Let's go. All right, so this is actually a game that Steven and I played. Steven's been pretty hot on the Arlong leader, the resident Sanji guy, trying out the weird two-color leaders. Arlong being the weird one from this set, kinda. What do you like about the Arlong deck that he plays?
I like that if someone says yellow is too broken, you can bring up Arlong and say, no, it's not.
Yeah, to be fair, it is probably one of the weakest points of yellow. Notably, a lot of the green from set 3 doesn't feel great, since it's kind of locked to a lot of East Blue stuff or some mediocre triggers. But it does have some cool abilities to be able to play things from hand at a discounted rate, which can overwhelm some boards early on.
Yeah, it is a Dofi 2.0.
Yeah, I kind
Here
of
in
like
set
that.
3. Dofi is still relevant in this meta. We have a friend, one of our Three Swords, Giancarlo, is pretty adamant that Dofi is still relevant, with only adding things like 3,000 Worlds and Kaya to the deck. But although Dofi is still what he would say competitive, yeah, Arlong just seems like a budget Dofi.
Yeah, it does kind of feel akin to that, where you're attacking for the 7k and getting an effect. But yeah, we're starting out the game here. Arlong passed to the Lucci player, which is me, and I played brand new to add a Borsalino to hand. Passing back to Steven on Arlong. Contemplating some plays, it looks like. Yep.
Yeah, always smart to check what the brand new or Spandam milled, because as they get two CP9s in their grave, things like Kaku are turned on. If they have a Fukuro in their grave, Air Door Trigger is live. So always make sure you're checking what they're milling.
Yep, absolutely. And it makes sense that you would go for the Arlong swing here. You want the effect from the hand to be able to play something. I forget the name of the card he just played, but it would just tap brand new. Has no effect on ETB, but add something to the board, which I think.
Yeah, if you try to get fancy with the brand new, he can swing back with 3K.
Yeah. Obviously, I think from the Arlong side, you're trying to definitely find things more like Nami or Pero Sparrow or Cracker that you want to cheat in. It feels like the tapper there was a bit mediocre from the finds that he wanted, but nonetheless, still want to commit to the board. Yeah.
Yeah, just like yellow, Pero Sparrow is the best thing you can summon early just for the search. And as a 4K leader, Cracker is arguably better since you start off lower than your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
So Cracker's live the second he comes in.
Opt to play the Jin this turn. Be able to tap down both things and attack them down. So we're really paying off the fact that we put that 3k body on the table, even though it didn't have much effect. Now we can attack down the brand new. We're able to tap it this turn now. Attack lead at the Borsalino. Just trying to get a card out of the hand. I'm usually always going to save that Borsalino. I have to have someone's aboard myself, and Borsalino is a tough thing anyway around. Makes sense to.
Yeah, just keeping a Borsalino on board just simulates like you having a 6k leader.
Yep.
So whenever they swing for 5, you can just block, or if they swing for 7, you can block in 2k. It just changes their math.
Yeah, and I've kind of established here on the Lucci side that if my opponent's kind of playing these characters out that are a bit mediocre in their stats, that probably means his hand is a bit weak. I'm not going to add cards to his hand by attacking his life quite yet. With the lead that is, we want to kind of pressure down his board a little bit. We'll give him a card to soften him up, but we just want to add to the board and kind of make our presence known.
Yeah, swinging with the Borsalino is never bad because he's a 6k on your opponent's turn. Doesn't need a Don attached or anything like Cracker or any of the other cards, Zoro from starter deck. So if you ever get aggressive, attached to swing 7 with the Borsalino, not the worst, because he's basically blocking when they have to swing into him as a 6k.
Yeah, exactly. I still don't mind if my opponent attacks into it here. I think getting a life off of them to get him down. You can attack in for 8. Decide what we want to put in from hand with the trigger effect. Options, and looks like, cannot play that one. That is a 5-drop, yep. And yeah, we'll tap down. I'm sorry, the name of that card is Filippo? Is that what it is? The 5-drop blocker? But anyways, yeah, we'll tap that down.
Balluno.
Balluno, that's what it is.
Yeah, it looked like he tried to play Chew.
Yes.
Chew can kill a tapped 4-drop, but Yeah, it can't be killed by card effects.
Yeah. Undid that a little bit. Attacking with the Jin, 8k here. I do have a Fugaro in the graveyard as an option to bring back. That's not my most favorite thing to have to bring back here.
It's a good thing to bring back if they're on their last attack.
Which they are here.
Yeah, because if Blue No's the first one to die, and they have more attackers, that Fugaro is a goner.
Yeah. But that is what we're optioning for here. Yep. Comes in rested and deciding if there's anything else and passing back here. So, on the Lucci side, we got options. Unfortunately, my hand does not contain, I believe, any Ishos or Sakazukis. So, we're instead optioning, hey, what are we going to be doing with any of these Kakus, or I could try and dig with the Khalifas in the hand, but I do like the counterpower in my hand right now, so it's not like I'm necessarily digging them. So, just optioning what the turn should look like.
Yeah, bringing down the 6k bodies like Blue No, Kaku. You want to get all of them into play.
Yeah.
They're not the strongest, but you kind of live in the mid game and then use your leader to close out.
Yeah, my thought process here was I definitely wanted to probably put the Kaku down this turn, and I could play the Tashigi to be able to kill something along the way, which I think was worth it. If they attack the Tashigi, that's an attack out. And my hand, like I said, already has good counterpower. I already have a couple Khalifas in hand, plus a couple 1Ks. Not upset with that there. And we're going to do that exact play. Tashigi, Jin, kill it. Uno, Kaku in the bottom.
Yeah, Tashigi is pseudo blocker because it requires a response since her effect is reusable.
Yep. I like playing out Tashigi a lot to be able to do those cool minus effects like that for that reason, because you do have to attack it back. But I would usually suggest to only do that in times when you have decent counterpower in hand, since it is a 2k itself.
If you have a 2k to spare.
Yeah. With my hand, I felt like I had a 2k to spare, and going to be okay here. But definitely wanted to make sure I was keeping track of that before we went into the actual play.
Red will play their Makinos and their Otamas. You can play your Tashigi.
Yeah.
It looks like he's still trying to find a bomb. Hasn't played anything too big other than Geen this game.
Yeah. This would be like a great turn for like an 8-drop Katakuri, get some board back.
Unfortunately, all the East Blue Fishmen are incredibly weak. Strong triggers, but weak cards.
Yeah, they're all like 3Ks, so it's a bit awkward in trying to attack back on your opponent with them. So it does still feel like he's sputtering a little bit with what he's got.
That's kind of the strength of why Dofi's better. Dofi has a lot of cards that he can summon, all usually 5Ks. And they even got that 4/6 vanilla. That would probably be good to add to the East Blue package.
Yeah, I mean, even better is Dofi is card advantage, right? You're flipping from the top of your deck, whereas Arlong has to play something from their hand.
Yeah, lowering your hand size.
So it's tempo. It's not card advantage like Dofi is. Now, playing it tapped versus untapped is a different argument, but for the sake of what we're doing here, I think just a line.
Yeah, whenever I wasn't a fan of the Power Mochi card or the one that kills a 4-drop.
Oh, Buzzcut Mochi?
Buzzcut Mochi. Yeah. But the trigger says play something from hand. And so when your opponent does use that and plays a Cracker, Parasparrow, or Smoothie, it still feels pretty strong, even though it's kind of like a neg-1.
Yeah. I'm sure, I haven't looked at Steven's deck list here, but I'm sure he's playing probably at least 1 or 2 copies of Buzzcut Mochi in the Arlong deck. Not because he can use the trigger effect to good effect, but instead because he's a 2-color leader with yellow that can that starts at 4 life.
Yeah, and the Buzzcut Mochi is immediately turned on.
Yeah, exactly. Cool effect. But yeah, it looks like we opted to play Krieg for what is essentially no effect. Instead, just playing it to a board to get a good body out. Like we've said, Arlong's been struggling to find its top end here, so Krieg is a top end that doesn't counter, but in matchups like this one in black or against yellow, Krieg can feel kind of medium. Feels like not going to be able to kill many things out of these matchups.
Yeah, Krieg is a bit of a green Sakazuki. Discard, kill something, 6-drop, 7k. But the double attack is definitely not something to scoff at, especially if you run cards like Django, where you can, attach 5 to Krieg, swing 12k, double attack twice.
Yeah. plus backed up by all of these things that can tap down the blockers in the way, like my Fukuro, then it even threatens more when I think I'm actually safe in a nice situation. Play brand new here. I believe we added Sakazuki this time, so now we have that option available to us. Don't have any minus on the cost effects in hand besides the Khalifa, so it would be a whole 10 Dawn play if I would like to do something like that. So I could just Sakazuki and do it on something else here. I'll attack in first, see if he's got any triggers. Obviously playing a lot of triggers in his deck, so sure of that.
Yeah, it would be nice if you got like a cracker trigger, and then you discarded a card, and then you played Sakazuki to answer the cracker.
Yeah. So that is what I did. He was able to tap down the Fukuro, which does make me, interestingly, like a little bit more worried. Can be a lot of attacks back from the side of the Arlong player here. Plus Sakazuki killing any one of these things isn't great. They're all still kind of low power. So I actually opt to go for a different line and just play double Fukuro out. Just say, hey, I don't need to kill anything yet. I'll just protect my life and play out to the board a little bit. Make these attacks back on what I have here more awkward.
Yeah, the most dangerous thing is that you tap down your blocker and it has a very strong double attacker on board. So it makes sense to play the double blocker. You lose the Fukuro for free 100%, but the little guys aren't really doing much otherwise.
No.
He's not Zoro. He's not buffing these 3K attackers.
It was also just like, hey, there's a possibility he could kill me. I have a decent amount of counter power in hand, but he could do something to really, really make some decent effect out of my life. So I don't want to be threatened. I just kind of want to play safe here. I'm not behind on board, so fine. Discarding out a Khalifa. 5.
Another effect Arlong could use is their own Martial D Teach. With all those small bodies, once they come into play, it would be cool to have an effect that sacked them for some use.
Yeah, I don't know what the design space there is, whether they're trying to keep like the sacrifice type effects to red, because it seems like, that's kind of a more red effect. In
the Kuro package, the green cards have a use after they come into play. They help your Kuro untap. But in Arlong, you start to see the board is flooded with these small East Blue guys, but they aren't doing much.
Right. And we do see 7-drop come down. Options to the Lucci player to either crit himself or heal. I think we're playing a bit longer of a game. I don't think I'm killing my opponent this turn, especially with the blocker on the table. Healing my opponent seems more important at this time. You can make an argument because I have double Fukuro that I could feel safe and take the crit, but as Rob Lucci, I like card advantage in hand. I like having the cards to be able to make sure you have those 2 cards at the time when you need it. Plus, like I said, the game's going to go long. There's no reason to lose a whole card in the process to try and kill my.
Yeah, it's like it's a bit of a, do you want to give them an extra card or do you want to lose a card?
Yeah.
And sometimes that card matters to you more than the card matters to them. And based off of the way this game has been going, I don't think you're worried about Arlong getting that extra card.
No. We crack in with the Lucci here for 9 on the Krieg there. 1 card from the hand of Arlong, so they can either decide to use the blocker or lose it. I think losing it there makes sense. You still have a 7-drop on board, which is also a good body. That blocker could allow me to untap with the Lucci, which would then create some awkward effects. I think taking it there makes sense. I'm just going to start pressuring down the life just a little bit, soften my opponent up so that I'm able to maybe possibly get in some good attacks in the future here.
Yeah, when you heal the yellow player, they usually don't mind retaking the life that you just gave them.
And then with 6 Dawn left, it's naturally with a Sakazuki coming down. Again, still a little bit awkward. I have an option to either kill the blocker or kill just one of the 3K bodies on the table. I think it's an interesting debate. I sat there for a little bit thinking about it. Killing the blocker would mean that I could get through easier on future turns, but killing a 3K means his attacks back are worse. A great attacker back, but it felt like with Lucci and being able to, my opponent blocking would be able to untap it in the future, means that it's kind of feels-ish free. Not quite.
Yeah, I would have preferred killing the blocker, especially because the punish is like if he plays another one, then you'll wish you had killed the blocker.
Okay, yeah, that might be a good reason to think about that. But yeah, instead I did go for the body and just say, hey, we're playing this long game. I'm going to slog it out with you here. Opponent comes in, cracks out Taku is on the table.
Yeah, usually taking your time against yellow isn't a good idea. The more time they have, the more time they play big bombs
Hmm.
and heal life. But because you're fighting Arlong, there's no such thing as a 10 drop big bomb.
That is true. It is leader locked. Don't worry about here. What are we doing with the last one we got there? I think we got two cards in hand there, so just a pass.
Yeah, it seems you were right. He did try to start getting in there with the smaller guys.
Yep. That was kind of the thought. Is those guys are gonna have to be starting to attack soon, so getting out one of those kind of makes sense. Plus, I have Kaku in hand, which is an option to get rid of the blocker if I needed that. But again, Lucci can kind of just bypass it anyways. Brand new is a free attack. I'm never gonna really attack my opponent's life. I'm gonna either have things in the way or enough counter power to get out of it. So I'm not gonna commit the Dawn to it in the first place. Kill the 3K on the board that's attacking me back. I got 2 Fukuros to block in the meantime.
Yeah, leaving small tapped guys against Rob Lucci is technically not a good idea because that always gives your opponent the option to use the Rob Lucci to swing twice.
True.
It's something like you would think in your brain, like, oh, Rob Lucci will swing, hit a blocker, and then swing again. But no, Rob Lucci will swing at life. Then they'll use their brand new to kill your small little 3K, and then Rob Lucci will swing life again.
Yeah, that is a good play. Yeah. Maybe a better play out of me. This is my first night on set 3 still, so we're still finding the intricacies of the deck here, but those types of things are good to know. Options here, just trying to figure out what the correct amount of Dawn is. I don't think Arlong's dying this turn by any means, so still trying to be a little bit cognizant of what can flip out here. Nami is definitely a good flip. Add to the board, add to the hand. Good. Got some 2K action there. Yeah. Adding a 2K to the hand.
Yeah, 2K that's leader locked is pretty interesting. He can put himself in play, but only if you have an East Blue leader.
Which Arlong is.
But other than that, you have yourself, you have the Sakazuki. Those are your two big swingers. You
Right.
have two blockers. And, Rob Lucci's kind of two attackers at once at all times. And if Steven ever taps a small guy, like I said, the brand new could just make Rob Lucci attack twice.
Yeah. Again, just optioning out what the correct amount of Dawn is. Attacking in for 7K feels pretty good. Attack much larger. Just my opponent just uses blocker.
Yeah, 7K usually baits out the counter spell, and he's holding up 4 Dawn.
That's kind of what I wanted. It was like, if you have an event, use the event, or just use the counter power. Still debating. Yeah, we use the blocker anyways. I'm not killing my opponent this turn. I don't think by any means, so tapping the Lucci doesn't.
Yeah, I think the best events he could be representing is Ikaku Sovereignty for 5K.
Yep.
Or a Punk Gibson to tap down your blockers.
I think either one of those would be reasonable. Now, at this point, I do think he would have used it instead of using the blocker, but we'll just make sure that we're good for the turn and then can wait to the next turn here. Play the Kaku, remove another body, have our body of ourselves. Adding Sparrow. Another Parasparrow does make sense. Adds another body to the board that you can play down with the Arlong effect. Definitely one of the better things you can play to the effect of the Arlong player. I pass. Back to Arlong. 3 cards in hand, 1 Parasparrow. Know about 1 2K we know about.
Yeah, there's a lot of effects in the game like Don Krieg and such, Chew, that kill 4 and less. But in the meta we're in, I think that doesn't hit a lot of targets.
Yeah.
For example, you have the Fukuros, but they can't be killed by card effects. And it seems like the rest of the board is 5K and up. So not seeing a lot of action with effects like that.
Right. Yeah, definitely those effects have been awkward against black that we felt so far. And for 9, pretty easy Fukuro block. Gives us space on board while blocking the.
Yeah, it looks like he's looking through his options. I'm trying to see his hand.
I think it's an 8 drop there. 8 drop category.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of that would be threatening for him to play is another 7 drop Big Mom or another category. There's not a lot on the green side that people play nowadays.
Yeah, we saw like Krieg earlier as like the big side of the green, but even that can feel not great since there's a great ETB there a lot of times. Although it would have effect here. That Nami will come in. We know that because Arlong didn't have its effect this turn, that we see something big, and yeah, it is the 8-drop category coming down. It's an interesting option what to do here, though. Do you feel so pressured that you need to put something back into your own life, like the Nami, or do you want to put something Sakazuki at the bottom of my life out of the way for the future?
Well, considering he's at 1 life, no blockers, and you have a Sakazuki, a Kaku, and a Rob Lucci leader, I assume he puts that Nami in his life.
I think so. I think it makes
otherwise,
sense.
I would like to, always hit a Sakazuki or an Isho.
Yeah, the things that don't count are really nice to put back with categories that are later awkward that you can't. I did find an Isho off life, so that is now an option. I can attack my opponent twice, add 2 cards to his hand, then Isho. However, I think just like pressuring my opponent after I attack them twice and they take 2 life would be the same as taking 2 cards from their hand, is I can just attack them and make them pitch 2 cards from their hand.
Yeah. Hitting a nice Isho where you get to randomly discard 2 cards from their hand is always a game changer. The fact that his static effect lowers people's cost by 3 is huge.
Yeah.
And that he's a 9k body. And you can kind of gotcha your opponent, They always try to not have 6 cards in their hand when you have 8 or more Dawn. But if they have 5, you can swing at life and make them take it and then put them up to 6 and things like that. And Isho is definitely just a great addition in this new set.
Yeah, that card has definitely been a breaker of my back in some games I played.
Yeah, I got unfortunate answer is getting it Katakuri'd. But on the reverse side, if they already have a Katakuri on board and you establish Isho, you can Sakazuki their Katakuri or their 7-drop.
That always feels. So again, we're optioning out here. What does the Dawn look like for the turn? I like getting it for 7. I like forcing the last life here against Arlong. With so many triggers in the deck, don't want to get surprised in that last turn with a blocker or an Akiku Sovereignty when you thought you were safe. Get blown out by a really good trigger. I think getting down to 0 is something I don't usually do against a lot of opponents because I don't like them having the card in their hand, and usually on the last turn I can get it in for 2 attacks. But here I think it makes sense to get down to 0 life, make sure I know what's going on with the hand, the life, try and not be surprised. Yep, and we decide here to come in for an 8k attack. Better than playing Isho. We're going to just make him pitch 2 cards otherwise, so cards there. We have Borsalino in the way and hold up a Shockwave so that we now can't.
Yeah, I like swinging with 7k. Obviously, everyone knows that gets 2 cards out of your opponent's hand. But most of the time, I do end up having an extra Dawn. I'm like, why didn't I attach it so I could get 2/2ks?
Yeah. It's definitely a tough thing because you don't exactly know what your opponent's always going to pitch out of their hands, so you're trying to really think through a process of, like, is it worth the extra Dawn? Am I bluffing something better by holding it up? But yeah, trying to sit down first in the turn and say, okay, this is what's kind of transpire. How should it play out with the Dawn?
Yeah, and it's always an awkward position because 7 is such a good number also because that requires your opponent to get rid of a 2k and a 1k.
Mm-hmm.
And in most decks, the 1ks are the playable ones, and the 2ks are the non-playable ones.
True.
So if you're trying to burn out like counter power, yeah, it's like swing 8, they get rid of 2 2ks. But if you swing 7 enough and your opponent keeps pitching 1 2k, 1 1k, you're going to limit their options of what they can do on their turn. Because sometimes I'm just like, like they swing for 5. I have 1ks in my hand, but these are all cards I want to play, so I have to pitch a 2k.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting debate of like what you want to hold versus what you want to keep. I think when you get kind of this low life, you just kind of pitch what you can pitch. What it is. All right, we saw attack for 9, attack for 9. Both my blockers in the way there. Should be no way for my opponent to be able to kill me now.
Blockers that can't be removed from by effects are pretty good.
Yeah. Back in for 8. Ability to put Arrow Sparrow.
The scariest thing he could have done was like save a Geen in hand.
Yeah.
And do a bit of a gotcha by double tapping your blockers, since he can't kill them.
Right. Notably, I did play the Shockwave there to save my character on board. My opponent did try to pick up the Parasparrow, but I did tell them it is an up to, and I did not choose it because I don't want them adding a card to their hand they could possibly counter with in this last turn. Yeah, just a quick concession there, it looks like, to what is going to be a number of large attacks. Let's go back to the booth. All right, so pretty interesting from the Arlong side there. Definitely an interesting deck with a lot of triggers and a lot of potential surprises that can come out of it, but it does look like Lucci came out on top on that one, at least.
Yeah, Arlong has a place, and that's for the people who like off meta. And I am in the camp of Captain Kuro when it comes to off meta.
Okay.
So let's go Kuro. No Arlong.
A little bit East Blue action, but
Yeah, it's budget kid or budget Dofi, whichever you want.
okay. Yeah, I like the surprise out of Arlong, at least. I'm kind of a sucker for two color leaders. That's definitely a cool thing for me. But I get what you're saying, where there's just some nice consistency by having just one color in 5 life.
5 life always feels good.
Okay, well, that is our video for today. Thanks for sticking around, everyone. If you're still here, consider liking and subscribing this video. We'd really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you next time.